89.1 The Wood. Joining us today, we have recording artist Adia Victoria. Adia, glad to have you. How are you doing?
I'm well, Joey. How are you?
I'm doing good. Have you ever been to St. Louis?
I have been to St. Louis. I've been to, performed at Off-Broadway years ago.
And I see that you're going to be performing at Off-Broadway again tonight at 8.
I shall, yes.
So, I noticed that Wikipedia describes your music style as Gothic blues. Is that accurate?
For some people, yes. I consider myself a blues artist, and I think other people might perceive me in their own way, which is totally cool.
So, what does the whole Gothic part mean compared to the traditional blues aspect of that?
I think for me, when I hear the term Gothic in front of blues, especially as it pertains to my music, I think that my music is a little bit more grotesque. It takes a lot of cues from that literary technique, meaning I have a way of viewing the world that kind of skewers it or subverts it in a way, and so that's what I think of when I think of Gothic. It's something that normal polite society might see as a bit weird or absurd, and that's kind of where I draw a lot of my themes from.
So I listened to some of your music already, and I kind of noticed that it has a harder edge than most music. Is that also kind of the style that you were just talking about?
I mean, what would you say by harder? What do you mean? There's no wrong answer.
Just
like darker?
A little bit, kind of.
Right. I mean, what I'm interested in doing a lot with my art is speaking on a lot of subjects and feelings and emotions that don't get a lot of mainstream coverage. And I think that a lot of my subject matter is extremely vulnerable. The hardness you might hear is sometimes with the production choices we make and the sonic choices. It can be to kind of maybe serve as a little bit of armor or a little bit of protection or boundary, which is, I think, what a lot of people do in their day-to-day life, right? You have like these vulnerable parts of you that you try and hide and keep people away from, and that's kind of the human aspect of a lot of my music, is getting to the soft parts inside of me and trying to get past all of the darkness.
So going to more on that human aspect, I noticed that you write most of your own songs. Is your music kind of more autobiographical?
Yeah, I write all my songs, except for the covers.
So is it more autobiographical in that sense, or?
Oh, absolutely. I use my art to help me make sense of going through life, because it is a very confusing experience, or has been for me. And I think that a lot of the times the rules and the game book that we're given by our parents and the adults in our life as children, it's well-meaning, but a lot of the times it's not one size fits all. And some people, it doesn't work for you, and you go through the system and you try and feel as normal as possible, but inside you feel very alone. So my music speaks to that feeling sometimes, and it's ironic because there's so many of us walking around feeling this way, that if we were able to show those vulnerable parts, let them breathe and let them see the light of day, we probably wouldn't feel so alone.
Yeah, there's obviously no, as you mentioned, one size fits all. There's all different maps lead to that endpoint of what you want to do in life.
Right. I understand why our parents and authority figures, try and tell us like this is right and this is wrong and this is what you should do. But at the end of the day, nobody can speak for you, for your heart. You have to do that, and it takes a great deal of courage to tell people that you are going to forge your own way.
So this is your second album, Silences. It's it has been released, right? It has been released, I believe, last Friday. So did you learn anything from the first album you had that might have impacted the creation of this one?
I think that I learned to enjoy the process a little bit more. I think with the first one, like I wanted to get it done. Like I was just like, I want to get this done. Like I've been working on it for 3 years.
Kind of the anxiety factor, maybe a little bit of this is the first one, and maybe the stress of wanting to get it right.
Yeah, and like you have kind of like your hands around the throat. It's kind of like a parent with their first child. Like they're like mortified that they're going to break the baby, you know, and like you just want to see it succeed and go out into the world. But by the time your second album comes around, like you're a little bit more lax. Like you understand that, like, you know, even if you don't nail something perfectly, it's not going to be the end of the world, and that there can be art and the mishaps and the mistakes, quote unquote, and learning to embrace, you know, that feeling of I don't have to be in total control. That was me.
So 89 Won the Wood, we're particularly attracted to one of your songs off that album, Different Kind of Love. It's actually playing right now.
Yeah.
And I know that the song is about broken hearts. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. You know, I went through my 20s and I dealt with a lot of relationships, casual relationships, and dealing with different men. And I think I was just trying to figure out who I was as a woman. And a lot of these relationships were, you know, not surprisingly, not built to last, and a lot of them just ended up like in like humiliation or like, let's just pretend this never happened, like please. And I felt, you know, at the end of each of these relationships, like I had been like wounded, and you know, my self-esteem was maybe a little bit lower than it should have been. And I think that when that happens, you can either, you know, dive down that hole of just like, well, I'm worthless, like nobody's ever going to love me, what's wrong with me? Or you can kind of like look at it with a sense of humor, just be like, well, I really goofed on that one. Like I really messed up. So the character in this song, like, she's just going through all these ways she's tried to go out into the world and find love. And at the end of the song, she's asking, between the world and me, what will it be? Tell me, who do you love? Who do you love? And for me, like, that was me asking myself, like, you know, are you going to put more importance on what the world thinks of you, or do you love you? And that's what that song's about for me.
Why don't we take a listen? Here's Different Kind of Love by Adia Victoria.
Some of them would leave me laughing in their way. Some of them would lay me low. One of them likes to make my heart to break. This was a different kind of love. With some of them I knew it best to hesitate. Some I've never seen again. Some at the end they wanna be your friend. This was a different kind of love. Find my own favorite dreams. Can I get unstuck? Is it way too much? I need a different kind of love.
89 Won the Wood, that was Different Kind of Love by Adia Victoria off her latest album, Silences. We've been talking to recording artist Adia Victoria. So you're from South Carolina. Tell us a little bit about your roots.
So I grew up in Spartanburg County, South Carolina, which is a very small, the town was Landrum in Spartanburg County. It's a very tiny town on the border of North and South Carolina in the mountains. So I grew up very sheltered. I was part of a very devout Christian family, Seventh-day Adventist. My school was a part of my church. It was actually attached to the church, and this is where I spent the first 10 years of my life. So my whole world was very small, very protected, but I had a huge imagination as a little girl. I guess because I lived out in the country so often, and there was no smartphones back then. We didn't have cable, and we weren't allowed to interact with secular culture. So you had a lot of free time to just roam around in the mountains and go swimming in the river, and it kind of just made my imagination explode. And I liked to read a lot as a little girl and write stories for me and my sisters.
So you mentioned you have a lot of free time. You were kind of sheltered. If you grew up somewhere else or grew up somehow different, would your music have been different in a different way?
I'm sure. I mean, I think that all artists pull from what they have available. If you're making good art, that is. So yeah, I'm sure that if I'd grown up in a big city, there would have been different influences, different things informing my mind and my sensibilities.
You mentioned big city. I noticed you moved to New York. Tell me a little bit about that, because there's nothing like New York.
Yeah, that was one of those follow my butt experiences. I moved to New York when I was 19. I dropped out of high school, and I was listening to The Strokes a lot, and I was just completely in love with Julian Casablancas, and I was like, I'm going to go to New York, and I'm going to find Julian, and I'm going to be his girlfriend. That never happened. I'm shocked, but I did get a real education there, just about my relationship with myself, away from other people, away from rules and adults and religion. And, I realized that I'm this very quiet, hermetic person, and I was kind of insulated into a silence that I'd never known before, because I'm the middle child of five. So there's always something going on. You're always in the midst of someone else. But in New York, it's an interesting town to be alone in, because you're surrounded by 14 million people and nobody knows you and they don't care. So you're kind of just hermetically sealed inside your own mind.
Yeah, I've actually been to New York twice, and so I'm from the St. Louis area, kind of in the Illinois East Side suburbs, and so whenever I went, you just kind of walked and mind your own business. Other New Yorkers just minded their own business, and everybody went on their way.
Yeah, I mean, if you kind of had to, because it's the way that they walk down the street around everyone else is how you drive in your car. You're in your own bubble, but they know how to be in a bubble with people sitting this to them. So it's very strange, being from the South, and you're used to saying hi to people. In New York, people just walk through you. Oh, okay.
So then you settled back down in Nashville. Is there a reason why you chose Nashville?
My family began moving to Nashville in waves, starting in the early 90s. And I was living in Atlanta before I came to Nashville, and I was the last to arrive. And I really wasn't doing much in Atlanta. I was teaching myself how to play guitar, smoking pot. And I got a call from my mom, and she was just like, why don't you come be with the rest of the family in Nashville? So I packed my guitar and my cat, and I moved up there and settled in with my family, and I've been there now for almost 10 years.
So you mentioned you play guitar.
Yes.
When did you start to learn to play the guitar, and why the guitar?
I started playing the guitar when I was 21. I was living in Atlanta. I was working as a telemarketer, just boring work, same thing every day. One of my best friends, she decided to move to Seattle for the summer, and she left me an acoustic guitar. So I was bored. So I started learning songs on the guitar. I was obsessed with MGMT that summer. So I learned Time to Pretend and Pieces of What. And, slowly I got into the blues. And I think that the guitar was the first thing for me that I was able to set goals on and accomplish and feel smart for the first time in my life. And it wasn't because I had some grown up, some adult being you have to learn this and this. It was no, I want to learn how to play this Johnny Cash song.
So yeah, just following your own path, like you mentioned a bit earlier in the interview. Is there any other instrument that you know how to play?
I actually played the tuba in middle school in the marching band. It was bigger than me.
So we'll shift gears now to touring. So you're going to be playing at Off-Broadway tonight at 8. How many members are in your band? How many people are up on stage with you when you tour?
We are a large band. So we're 7. I have my keys player, Peter Eddins, my bassist, Jason Harris, my drummer, Naps, 2 horns players, Chazen and Willay, and my creative partner and lead guitarist, Mason Hickman.
Is touring hard on you? Do you miss, whenever you're on tour, do you miss something in particular from home? Or
I miss my cats, my family, and the ability to make a bowl of cereal. Like touring is very hard. There was one time I was in New York and we played the Colbert Show, and I wanted a bowl of cereal afterwards to celebrate. So I was like, I want Cinnamon Toast Crunch because it's my favorite. So I went down to a bodega and I got Cinnamon Toast Crunch, and I brought it back to my room. I was like, crap, I forgot my milk. So I went back and I got the milk, and I bring it back, and I was like, oh, I don't have a bowl to eat this out of. So I had to go find a Tupperware bowl, and I get it, and I was like, I don't have a spoon. So it was just the small conveniences of being able to do something like that, because everything in tour requires so much planning, and it's all production. And it's hard work, but it's work that I love to do.
So it's not necessarily grueling. You just like to, at points during the tour, revert back to everyday life that we as fans who like to go to your shows experience. Yeah. Getting a bowl of Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
I mean, it is grueling. It's very tiring. Your time isn't your own. You have to, wake up, go to the venue, go sound check, and go to the next town. It's very difficult, but being able to perform live with my guys makes it all worth it.
So is there another song you'd like for us to play?
I would like to play the song Nice Folks.
Okay, why don't we take a listen to that? Here's Nice Folks by Adia Victoria on 89.1 The Wood.
You're a night without an end, a room without a door. Your finger on my lips, so I will speak no more. But surely did I say the day was gonna come when I would find the break and make my feet to run. Nice folks bringing me down, and it's the same old nice folks watching me drown, and it's the same old tightrope dragging me round. But they don't really see that. They're gonna say I went mad. To be loved, you gotta be cruel. You don't agree, you be a fool. The number is high, you know where I stand. I know what you are, do you know who I am? Take all the dollars, take all the sins. Sold your soul to the businessmen. Now you gotta be good, you gotta behave, you gotta play nice, you gotta create. The water is wide, water is deep. I pray the Lord your soul to keep. In this night, sink or swim, you ready or not, it's happening. And it's the same old nice folks bringing me down, and it's the same old nice folks watching me drown, and it's the same old tightrope dragging me round and round, but they don't really see that. And it's the same old nice folks bringing me down, and it's the same
89.1 The Wood. That was Nice Folks by Adia Victoria off her latest album, Silences. We've been talking to recording artist Adia Victoria. And Adia, let's go with some fun questions now.
I love fun.
So I'll start off with this one. When you're on tour, you're on your tour bus, what's your favorite thing to binge watch? Whether it be Netflix or Hulu or whatever streaming service, or do you binge watch at all?
I don't binge watch at all. I binge read.
You binge read, okay.
Yeah.
So what's your favorite thing to read when you're on tour?
I'm actually reading Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix in French right now.
In French?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Dedicated Harry Potter fan. Did you grow up loving Harry Potter?
Well, I got into it a little bit later than most people. I fell in love with Harry Potter when I was 14. But I have little sisters, so we would go see like all the movies, and we had all the DVDs and read all the books. We went to all the midnight parties, and yeah, I'm a huge Harry Potter fan.
So I'm assuming that's your favorite way to relax is to read a book.
Yes.
Have you, staying on the topic of tour buses, have you named your tour bus, or whenever you got your first car as a kid, did you name your first car?
Well, we have a van right now, and he does have a name. His name is Hitch. And he's my van. I actually never had a car growing up. I've never had my driver's license. I've never driven.
So that
legally.
Yeah, okay. Legally, okay. So Hitch is the name of your van that you tour with.
Yes.
So if you were a raindrop, where would you want to fall and why?
If I were a raindrop, I would want to fall into the Seine River in Paris, and hoping that some surrealist poet can make art out of it.
I was listening in. You said that you are a poet. So have you ever been to Paris? Is that another reason, or you want to go to Paris?
I've been to Paris many times. Yes. I spent quite a bit of time in France.
Okay.
I love it there.
Any kind of love influence? We played different kind of love earlier in the interview. Could that also be a reason why for your choice to land in Paris?
I mean, I'm in love with myself when I'm in Paris. I'm in love with the city, and it's one of my favorite places to just be alone and walk, and it's just, there's nothing like it.
So when you're singing about these songs about love, what's the most precious gift you've been given?
My family.
Your okay. Favorite season or holiday?
Fall.
You like fall? What's your favorite? Is Halloween your favorite holiday then, or?
I mean...
Or Thanksgiving?
I think Thanksgiving / Halloween. I can't really decide between the two.
So your album Silences, just released last Friday. What was your first album that you bought?
My first album that I purchased on my own was Take Off Your Pants and Jacket by Blink-182.
Does that influence you in any way today?
I mean, yeah, my day-to-day life. It's just, they help me to laugh at myself, I think, just to be able to see the absurdity in being in the music business and a touring musician. That I adore that album. I still love it.
Obviously, being able to let go on a grueling tour is something that you have to do.
Absolutely.
Have you bought your album yet?
Have I bought it? No, I've stolen it from myself. No, I did purchase one for my grandmother.
So what songs, besides the songs that you've written, do you know all the words to?
Almost all of Fiona Apple's songs. I know the words to. I know all the words to every song on Late Registration by Kanye West. I know all the words to all the songs of Kings of Leon's first 3 albums too.
If you could go back in time and record a song first, you're the first one to ever record the song, which song would you record?
Sex and Candy by Marcy Playground.
Is there a reason why?
It's just so good. It's so weird.
So you're playing tonight at 8 on Off-Broadway.
Yes.
What was the first concert you attended?
First concert was The Strokes when I was 16.
Where was this at?
Myrtle Beach.
Ooh, on the beach. And who did you attend this concert with?
I attended the concert with my bestie, Erin Bailey. She was a year older than me, and she had a car. So I was like, I'll buy you a ticket to The Strokes and a whole lot of cigarettes if you drive me to Myrtle Beach. And she's like, okay.
So going back to the driving thing, you didn't even have to drive anywhere because you had all these friends, these close friends and family. They would take you wherever you needed to go.
Basically.
So Adia, it's been nice having you join us today.
Thank you, Joey.
Your album Silences, it was released this past Friday.
Yes.
And you're going to be playing it off-Broadway tonight at 8. What's the one thing you're looking forward to when you're going to play tonight?
I mean, honestly, I just look forward to holding church for everybody and playing the blues and bringing a bunch of people together and showing them that we have a lot more in common than we have different.
Sounds like it's going to be a really fun time.
It's going to be a ball.
Is there one final song you'd like to play for us?
Yes, I'd like to play my song, Heathen.
All right, here's Heathen by Adia Victoria on 89.1 The Wood.
I never bothered to ask. I never bothered with please. I never bothered, excuse me, miss, begging pardon, darling, that ain't for me. I like to do things my way, or I don't do them at all. Cause first they ask you to compromise, and in the next breath demanding you crawl. I guess that makes me a hater, quite possibly. Oh darling, I am a hater, all evil-hearted me. He says I'm covered in shame, says I'm covered in sin, but in all my own ways last night, and it's short, ain't my skin. But darling, under the top, you know that I'll never tell. I'll be a tight-lip cop, the darkest side from Jezebel. Hey, I guess that makes me a hater, something real within dirt. I hear them calling me hater, ooh, like they think it hurts. Jesus came to me one day and he washed my sins away. But then I caught sight of those city lights. I was led astray. 'Cause darling, I am a haven, oh yes, bitter to the bone. But if I am the haven, then why won't you leave me alone?